Okay, good afternoon, Miss Caroline.
Good afternoon.
So today, as you know, we have informed you, we have started a new project. It's called Dear World. So the project is about interviewing different people about their views on the environment and how their government is taking actions. We're going to interview many people from different countries like Miss Becky, Miss Andrew, and Miss Alexandria. We also have some from PYP, which is Miss Satya, Miss Andrea, and Miss Kavisha. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did?
Okay. So our questions are going to be, the first question is, do they use solar panels in Australia?
Yes, they do. In quite substantial quantity, as a matter of fact, because there's also a lot of sun throughout the country and around the big cities. More than in France, that's for sure.
Okay. So I heard that they also used a lot of coal in Australia.
Yes. Coal mining is still one of the biggest industry in Australia. Hence, it's a very polluted country, and that people who live in Australia, especially Melbourne, where I came from, it's the asthma capital city of the world, and because there's a lot of pollution and there's a lot of reluctance from the government to reduce coal mining.
Okay. Do you think as a citizen they should stop the mining of coal?
Well, I'm French, I'm also French, and in France we stopped coal mining a long time ago. And we've been relying on nuclear energy for 70 years, 60 years, 70 years. So I grew up with that. So for me it's a clean energy. Obviously there's a problem, it's a tragedy, that's for sure. Otherwise it's quite good.
Okay, our second question is, in Singapore they plant trees on buildings which helps cool down the building naturally instead of using ACs. Do you think that's a good idea?
It's a very good idea, first for the eyes and then for the planet. It's a very good idea. My only concern about it, it's quite limited, but it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Yes.
So do you think that other countries should adapt this thing?
Well, it's very relevant to Singapore. Why? Because the buildings in Singapore are mainly made of glass, which forced everybody to rely on ACs, which are bad for the environment. So planting trees on buildings will obviously reduce the temperature inside, which in turn will reduce the use of ACs. So that would be good. Now, can it be done everywhere in the world? I don't know.
My opinion on that is it can't be, because you look, I'm from Southeast Asia. It has a lot of plants, it has diversity, but it's not very rich. Like looking at Europe, Asia is mostly poor and most countries can't afford to install, and these, like for example, there's a lot of political instability in some countries. So what do you think, what things should they do?
In Southeast Asia?
Yeah, what things should they do?
Well, build the way they used to in the old days. Because the buildings, the old Singapore, for instance, the old Singaporean buildings do not rely on ACs because they have windows on both sides and they have ventilators. So they don't rely on ACs. And it's not as hot as it is in modern buildings.
Okay, thank you. The next questions are going to be answered by my other group member.
Do you think that we still have a chance to save our planet from climate changing?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's the end. I think throughout our human history, we've had some challenges and changes of climate. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's going to be maybe easy, but I trust that human ingenuity will help us tackle the challenges of climate change.
Okay. Are there any big environmental projects which are happening in France?
Big? No, not enough. And it's a complaint from a lot of French people. No, our forests are not in good condition. Our sea is quite polluted. The COVID pandemic enabled the population of big cities in France to rediscover silence and animals who could live in the cities that we never saw before. No, there are a lot of challenges. There's no doubt that the environment in Europe is not doing well. Also, we have a lot of heavy chemical industries who pollute our rivers. I'm sad to say, but our politicians tell us all the time that they're going to do this, they're going to do that they're going to clean our air, but it's not happening. Now, there may not be big projects, but there are a lot of individual small projects.
Which project do you know?
That I know of? Where my parents live, for instance, they live at the edge of Paris. And the mayor of the city where they live didn't want trees to be removed. Even if they built new buildings, they had to build around the trees. And the population of where my parents live made a lot of effort and were very loud to the mayor. And because he's been the mayor for 50 years, he knows everybody. And he made sure that no tree was removed. And it's a small success, but it's a success.
Thank you. And the next question will ask you, my partner.
Do you think the French or Australian government is taking any actions on carbon emissions?
Australia? None.
No?
Whatsoever. None whatsoever. For the French government, it's a different story because we use nuclear energy. So the carbon emissions is maintained at a reasonable level. Not a low level, because we have a lot of cars and a lot of polluting industries, but it's not, it's okay.
It's okay?
But it's not good, but it's not super bad.
Not super bad. How about, do you think all governments should try to be more eco-friendly?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I don't understand. I honestly, as an educator, I don't understand why they don't do more. How they don't think about the next generation, how they don't think we don't have a plan B. We're not going to go and live on another planet. And for me, I grew up in a very eco-friendly family. We don't use plastic, we eat what's on the season, and for 3-4 generations. I grew up like that. We don't throw away things, we don't use plastic. It's really simple, really simple. And we're not special, it's just the way we've been brought up. And I don't understand why it's not more developed. I like the fact that we don't use too much plastic at school.
True.
I like the fact that we have water fountains, that there's no plastic at the canteen. That to me it's important, so we are building it. I like the fact that we started to plant trees last year, and we will continue every year. We will continue to build plants.
That's great.
And trees. But I'm not the government.
True, that's great. Thank you so much for coming to this interview and accepting.
You're welcome, my dear.
Our project.
And we count on your generation to do better than what we did, and we count on you to be smarter than our generation has been. And we hope that you're going to be involved in making a difference, the difference maybe that my generations didn't make.
Thank you. Hopefully we can.